Fellow Falcoholics, what is up? Welcome to episode 118 of the Falcoholic Live. I am your host, Kevin Knight, joined by a group of illustrious guests this evening. First of all, Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way on Twitter. Adnan, how are you doing?
I'm good. I thought we had earned the title co-hosts and not guests at this point.
Well, the lines are blurred. You're definitely co-hosts. Yeah. Whichever title you prefer, really.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I never thought I would look forward to having some Falcon talk as a way to get away from stress, but after watching the first 4 innings of that Braves game, it's bring on the 0-5 Falcons talk at this point.
Right. Anything to get it. Yeah. We feel for you, Braves fans. We are brothers in pain. So don't worry about that. You can come here to get away from your problems. That's what we do every week. So also with us tonight, Eric Robinson at _Eric_Robinson on Twitter. Eric, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well. Atlanta sports fans in general, it's not really a good time right now. It's not.
Yeah.
Teams winless and the Braves are down 15-1. Just get away from sports.
Let's just launch it into the sun. Start over. Let's just.
Hey, they're still up in the series, and I've never known an Atlanta team to blow a big lead in the playoffs.
Never. We should be safe. Yeah. What's up, Ray Moon? What's up, man? Yeah. Also with us, Evan Birchfield at Evan Birchfield on Twitter. Evan, how are you doing?
Can't complain. Seems like the week's kind of flying by. It was nice to have, Monday and Tuesday night football to watch. But yeah, ready to talk some Falcons.
Yep. Yeah, well, we got plenty to talk about this week. If you guys missed it, we did have an emergency show going over the firing of... Nothing interesting happened, yeah. Technically, that was on Sunday, so depending on whether you view Sunday as the beginning of the week or Monday, I know technically Sunday is, but... Really, it's Monday, right?
Also, to Evan's point, who would I need to speak to make Tuesday Night Football an every week thing?
Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's probably
and 7 o'clock too. It started. Yeah. That was a nice time.
Yeah,
it's probably going to be the norm this season. I don't know about 2021.
I mean, I feel like they'll see all those beautiful TV ratings and see all the money they're making from it, and then if I was going to be like, let's make one every night of the week.
There's a doubleheader next Monday night.
Yeah, the Chiefs game. The Chiefs Bill, that's a good one, too.
What's the other Monday night?
Cardinals and Cowboys.
Oh,
that's pretty good, too. The Andy Dalton era in Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Firing of head coach Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff. We talked about that a little bit earlier in the week, but we'll get into more of the implications of that, the longer-term outlook, our thoughts on the interim coaching staff now that it's been fully announced. Possible candidates. That's always going to be a hot button topic. And then at 9 p.m. Eastern, we're going to get Ben Baldwin of The Athletic, one of the analytics nerds. I like to refer to him as the king of the nerds, who is going to come in here and give us the, data-driven reasons why Dirk Koetter is terrible. So I'm looking forward to that as, our resident Dirk Koetter hater. So.
Yeah, we'll give you the other reasons. He'll give us the data reasons.
Yeah. We'll give you all the eye test reasons, and then it's gonna be a good time. Yeah, and then later we're also gonna get Keenan Forty in here whenever he is available. He will be dropping in as well, so we'll get his perspective on all the events this week too. Okay, so I think between the post game show and Tuesday's show, all of you guys have kind of gotten your immediate takeaways in on the firings there. But we've been able to sit on it for a week. I mean, are you guys? I'll start with you, Adnan. Are you relieved? Are you stressed? Are you kind of sad? How are you feeling about the state of the Falcons right now?
At this point, the season is not pretty much. The season is over. Every single year has found draft season creeping up earlier and earlier, and this is the earliest possible we've ever had a draft take season. Mid-October or early October already. I'm tired. I'm tired after 3 years of this, but I'm tired but hopeful now that we finally have some legitimate changes going on, not lip service changes, not, we're going to keep it all for continuity, not, we fired our coordinator, so now everything is going to be okay. These are legitimate systematic changes taking place. And, I'm excited to see what the future holds for this team. I'm excited to see what candidates they bring in the offseason. There's so many good candidates out there, good young offensive minds, good experienced offensive minds. And I said it in our Falcoholic group chat, I'm very excited, but I'm also bracing myself for disappointment because that's just the way this team is.
That is the way.
So I mean, if you told me that this team is going to do something like bring in Jason Garrett or something as the next head coach, I'll be like, come on, man. But
Bill O'Brien, baby, let's go. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll all hope that is not the case. But yeah, I mean, I think it's a very hopeful time if you're a Falcons fan. Having these sorts of vacancies, it's kind of like before the season starts, like there are infinite possibilities. Anything could happen, even if you're a terrible team. And, when anything can happen, we tend to think of the good things, right? So I do believe that we're going to have an exciting offseason, and I believe the Falcons will be in play for top head coaching candidates. We'll get to the specifics of what those guys will look like. But Eric, I'll go to you next. What's your temperature reading on the Falcons now? Are you relieved that they moved on? Are you stressed out? Where are you at?
Oh no, I'm nowhere near stressed out. I never will be stressed out by this team ever again. That's a thing of the past. That will never happen ever again. This team is, it's not surprising. I have the same reaction as I had Sunday when we had the emergency. So, it's not surprising. It's something that you kind of felt was going to happen as the game went along. As the team walked off the field on Sunday, you just knew something was on the horizon, whether it was a firing or, a statement by blank or something. You knew something was going to happen. But, right now I'm glad they got it. I'm glad he got it out the way. I'm a little bit proud of Arthur Blank because a lot of us expected it to be either the bye week or the offseason. And luckily he saved the team from, he stopped the bleeding a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm proud of him for that.
Yeah.
The downfall is probably not going to see any news about any interviews until after the season.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, I mean, that would be disrespectful to Morris and everybody else in the building, but yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we got like 11 or 12 weeks of just sitting back and kicking our feet up and saying, all right, let's give this time to marinate a little bit. He's got a head start.
Yeah. I mean, they'll be looking into options, certainly.
Absolutely. And speaking of Morris, did you guys see he just walked in, immediately fires a special team?
Yeah.
That should have already happened after the Dallas.
No, it should have happened immediately. It should have happened in the press conference after the Dallas Cowboys game.
Doesn't that confirm that it really was Koetter's fault that they felt that they failed to get that ball? Honestly, I think we speculated because they called a timeout before that kick. Koetter was yelling at the players, and then they literally just stood there and let it roll. I feel very strongly that he told them to let it roll. So
absolutely.
It depends on how you read the tea leaves. They basically said that the players knew, but even Blank was questioning as far as saying, okay, what went on there? Because he felt like one side was lying, whether it was the players that knew and they just didn't do it, or literally the coaching staff was like, don't touch the ball. Yeah. I guess he felt something was not right.
Okay. So here's my theory. I feel like Raheem Morris was within earshot of Koetter during that timeout, and he heard what he was telling the players, and I feel like he told the players to let the ball roll. Yeah. And then afterwards, when there was all that talk of, oh yeah, the players knew to go get the ball, Raheem Morris was probably side-eyeing it, and now when he got the opportunity, he's like, get the hell out of here.
I just cannot fathom a special teams coach, a veteran special teams coach, telling his players do not touch the ball.
Koetter was respected before he came to Atlanta. This is not some jabroni, special teams coach. So
I can't imagine that. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but that's such a hard pillow to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just
don't touch the ball.
Because he was so terrified someone would make a mistake. You have to go out and play. Don't just be afraid of the mistake.
But it's the rule book.
I know.
You're allowed to touch it. You're not the one kicking the ball. Right. Who gives a damn if you're scared? It's your ball.
Yeah.
Dallas can't touch it.
I don't know. Maybe he thought Fossil was going to do some craziness. I don't know. Go ahead.
If he honestly told the players not to touch the ball, then he should have never saw the Bears game. He should have been fired for Dallas.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know the true answer, but I suspect that it had something to do with Kafka because he did call the timeout and was yelling at the players over there. So they all did the same thing. It wasn't like two of them watched it bounce and one of them dived for it. They all waited and let it roll. So
yeah, Hayden Hurst was hiding behind a Dallas player. He hid behind C.J. Goodwin, I think.
Yeah, C.J. Goodwin's revenge game, man. I didn't see that. That wasn't the storyline I saw going into that game, but. But on the topic of Raheem Morris and the interim staff, now that you guys brought it up, Evan, what is your thought on this coaching staff? Do you think, we'll talk about Morris first. Is this the guy you wanted to see promoted to head coach?
I think he's probably the better choice given, I don't want it to be Dirk Koetter. But I think the key thing here is a lot of stuff isn't going to change. Dirk Cutter's still there, so Dan Quinn being fired, the offense isn't all of a sudden going to change and be better. I think a lot of people, a lot of fans probably think it was now the team can start doing well, but pretty much everybody's still there, aside from special teams and Dan Quinn. So press conferences, I guess, will be different, but he wasn't calling offensive or defensive plays. So I'm not seeing where there's going to be a whole lot of change. Everybody's pretty much still there. I do like Morris as the interim head coach, giving him, an opportunity to, I think in that press conference, Arthur Blank said if he went 11-0, he would, get a look at as, potential head coach. But so he's pretty much. I mean, that doesn't sound too promising. I would like to see him at least get a fair shot,
Right.
But I think they're just kind of there for the ride, and when the season ends,
if he goes 11-0, he deserves the job. Forget the candidate for it. If he goes 11-0 and gets into the playoffs, give him the.
Right. So you guys are saying there's a chance.
There's a chance. There's a chance. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. Go ahead, Eric.
Add on to that real quick. I do think there's going to be some change, I think, on the defensive side of the ball. Ulbrich is the full-time DC now, so I think we're going to see more of Ulbrich making the calls with a little bit of insight from Morris. But it's one less hand in the cookie jar because I honestly think that the defense for the first 4 weeks or 5 weeks of the season literally were listening to 3 different coaches.
Yeah. I mean, Quinn was collaborative to a fault. And you could see it in multiple aspects, this. Let's rotate offensive linemen. Nobody does that. That's stupid. You don't rotate offensive linemen. Let's rotate defensive coordinators. Ulbrich, you can have first and second down, and we'll give Morris third down. Nobody does that. Nobody does these things. It's asinine. So I do wonder if just having a unified voice will help. I do wonder, we don't really know. We haven't seen Morris coach this team yet in his vision, I guess, quote unquote. I mean, you'd think he would be doing what he thought was best or advocating for that as the DC, but I wonder if we will see significant schematic change or if it's just going to be the same thing. It's kind of hard to tell. I'm interested to see that. That's one of the big things.
You would think they would shake things up. I mean,
I would expect they would, yeah. At least personnel-wise, but
yeah, you would think they say, you know what, forget it. Let's blitz every down. Hell, I mean, we're already 0-5. The head coach is fired. What else? What else do we lose?
But cover 3 has been working out so well this season.
Yeah. I mean,
let's hope there's a change there. There's a change on the defense. Let's hope they just say, okay, you know what? Forget this cover 3 stuff. It's not working with particularly.
Yeah, I never want another soft vanilla zone coach again. It's been 12 years of that.
Well, no more defensive head coaches. If they hire a defensive head coach, I think we can all pack it in.
Mike Nolan.
Yes, bring back Nolan. Yeah, I mean, first we should talk about that too. Why, if you're gonna hire a disgraced DC, why would you hire a Falcons disgraced DC? That's another level. He had the 32nd ranked defense in 2014. It was the worst, and this man's getting a job.
It just dawned on me. I think we probably will see some change from Dirk Koetter. I don't think he's going to run the ball at all. It's
tough.
just straight pass.
Yeah, Gurley
Especially
won
after Gurley won that FedEx.
Right,
ground
Gurley won
award.
FedEx Ground of the Week.
Yeah,
Better
14
pass.
wins this past weekend, had the best game of his season. And Koetter's not going to run the ball at all. He's like, all right, Quinn's out of here.
Yep.
Forget that.
All right.
Every down, we're throwing.
Balance.
That'll be fun to watch. Just go straight air raid. Straight. It'll be great for fantasy owners.
It'd be fun to watch when Ryan Arms falls off on the field. Yeah,
From 75 attempts a game or whatever.
I'd love to see him throw 60 pass attempts for 500 yards and they still lose because that's
That's the Saints special right there.
Coach, I can't feel my arm. Okay, 4 verts.
Yeah, that's all right. That means you're in the zone. Yeah. Feeling is for chumps.
Yeah.
You don't feel the ball when you throw it. You send it with your mind, Ryan. Come on. Yeah.
Exactly.
But no, I mean honestly, like this team has a lot of room to grow in terms of coaching. So I don't totally discount that we could see Raheem Morris like implement some changes and this team starts playing better and actually winning some games. I mean, I know someone in the chat asked, what was I think it was Robert Kelly, what we think the record will be. And I do expect them to still win like 4 or 5 games. So, but that would mean they basically go, 500 the rest of the way. They're probably more like an 8-8 team than they are a 5-11 team, but because of this awful start, that they're probably going to end up like 5-11. But
that would be pretty impressive for them to even be 8-8.
Yeah, they're not going to be 8-8. I mean, they'd have to almost sweep the rest of the season.
That would be pretty good. That would be pretty damn good for Morris if he can turn this team into an 8-8 squad.
Yeah, he'd probably play himself into another job. I mean, not as a head coach necessarily, but if the defense starts looking good, yeah.
So like I said, we got to keep in mind he's interviewing for a job as well. So even if it's not with Atlanta, he's got a shot right here for 11 games. Like I said, he really doesn't have much to lose. So we may see a lot of calls, we may see a lot of things that we haven't seen under the Quinn era, simply because you have a coach in Morris right now that's just saying, you know what, I got 11 games as a tryout.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no risk to Morris. Like, it's already an 0-5 team. It's not like it's gonna. It's not like it could get worse. So, yeah, I mean, like it was interesting to me that they kept. They fired Koetter and they kept the other 2 coordinators. I mean, obviously you can't have too much upheaval because technically, like, your defensive coordinator changed and your special teams coordinator changed. So it's like maybe they just needed to keep Koetter just to keep some semblance of continuity in the building, and also to help us with our, because he's our punching bag. Like, you can't take that away from us in a lost season. You just can't. So I do appreciate that, at least, that they were thinking of our show.
I did get a little excited when I read that a third person was fired from the Falcons organization.
Yep.
No, it's not with them. God damn it.
Yeah.
All right, whatever.
But no, I mean, I do think I don't know what exactly will change. We'll see this weekend if the Falcons change anything that's meaningful, in terms of scheme or personnel or whatever. I hope they at least stop rotating offensive linemen, but even that maybe is too much to ask. But we've got a new special teams coordinator too, is Bernie Parmalee, I think, who was the running backs coach. So, I do. One of the things I wonder from that change is if we get to see Roland finally, because I assume it was Kotwicka's idea to make Brandon Powell the returner. He reminds me of Dominique Franks back there, man. Like, and that's not a good thing, Fair catch, Franks. So, like, he just doesn't provide anything as a returner. Like, he's solid enough. Like, he's like a Justin Hardy type returner, I guess.
Added on the active roster if he's already protected for the week.
Can he be promoted?
Yeah.
He can still be promoted, but it wouldn't really make sense to protect him if you were going to promote him, I guess. But I don't know. I mean, I assume that they still could promote him, but
I mean, that was my assumption that
Yeah.
they're going to protect him. That means he's probably not going to be on the active, but you just don't want to lose him from the practice.
So I do wonder, when we'll see that, like when we'll see Roland get a shot, because the Falcons' return game is as depressing as the rest of the team. Like, it just doesn't. There's no flash. There's nothing exciting about it. It's just, I'm gonna catch this, get 2 or 3 yards or a fair catch, and then that's it. So, we paid Roland $80K in terms of a training camp bonus to stick him on the practice squad, despite him, reportedly outplaying Powell in camp, but maybe muffing a punt or two. So, like you're 0-5. It's time to start like not caring about muff punts and just let the guy see what you got. That's my opinion. But, Adnan, let's keep it on kind of personnel changes. Are there any immediate personnel changes you'd like to see?
Other than kicking Dirk Koetter to the curb.
Well,
yeah, we already went through that one. In regard to personnel changes, I think what you have is what you have to the end of the season. Like I said, this is a lost year. I'm not expecting the playoffs. I would be furious if this team ended 7-9, no matter how impressive that would be for Raheem Morris, because let's get that high draft pick for once. Let's not just linger around and get that 14th to 16th pick. I'm sick of those. Let's go for the top 5 this season. So you have Morris as your head coach. You have Ulbrich as your defensive coordinator. This is a great tryout for him as well. This is a promotion for him. He was a linebackers coach at UCLA, and fun fact, he was actually the guy who recruited Roquan Smith to UCLA, and after he left, Roquan Smith went to UGA. You're just rolling with what you have, and you're hoping that they look okay, that it's not just completely embarrassing the way the first 5 games were, but at the same time, secretly between you and me, I'm hoping that they don't do too good to destroy our draft pick the way.
Yeah. Or you want them to think.
Yes.
Well, beat the Saints twice, but then I'm good,
yeah, beat the Saints, but no, shamelessly, I'm here for the tank. I don't care about playing for pride and winning 7 games.
Right.
That's gotten us nowhere the last 2 years.
No, it hasn't. And that would be very on brand for the Falcons, right? To play for pride, win a bunch of games, and spoil the draft pick. But I just don't think this defense is good enough to make that a reality. And Dirk Koetter, I think, will be the thing that secures that. If this team plays an average to above average defense, the offense just falls apart. You can see it, if they don't just completely outclass the opponent's defense in terms of talent, the offense is just totally mediocre. Dirk Cutter's just asking guys to win, difficult matchups. The route combinations are awful. We're going to talk more about Dirk Koetter later, but I just don't see with him at the helm that this team's going to win a lot of games, because I don't see the defense improving. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe Morris has a chance of doing something. But Evan, what do you think? Do you think Morris can coax a better performance overall out of this defense, or are we going to – I guess Ulbrich too, because he's technically the defensive coordinator. But what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, it's possible. I think it's going to be, tough this weekend. The Vikings, I know me and Adnan talked about it before, but, the secondary hasn't done well against quarterbacks. You saw what Teddy Bridgewater did. Now they have Kirk Cousins, where Kirk Cousins is the type of quarterback that if you give him plenty of time, he's going to make you pay. I know he's dunked on all the time online and stuff, but it's usually because he struggles if there's an actual pass rush. But if the Falcons aren't, applying enough pressure, that's going to be interesting. And they might be without Dalvin Cook, though, so that might help the run game a little bit. But Alexander Madison's still probably one of the top 25 running backs in the NFL, maybe even higher. So that'll be interesting. I don't know how much it's actually going to change, because it's still, I'm assuming, unless they make some big changes, it's Dan Quinn's scheme. It's just they were kind of calling the plays. So more to be determined, I guess. We'll see. I'm not really optimistic or anything, because I don't know what to expect. So we'll find out this weekend, I think, more than anything.
Yeah.
Also, when's the last time the Falcons beat Minnesota?
They haven't done so great.
It feels like it hasn't happened since the Gary Anderson miss.
Yeah.
Legitimately, is it like the 2008 when Matt Ryan's rookie year when he beat Tavares Jackson to clinch the playoffs? Because it has not happened recently. When Teddy Bridgewater made his first career NFL start, they just ran right through us in the game where Levine Toilolo had to step in as the right tackle.
Yeah, especially in Minnesota.
Yeah. In Minnesota, I remember. Last year, they just
Yeah, they steamrolled us in week
pounded
one.
us.
Yeah, I think that Levine Toilolo game is part of the reason the NFL changed the inactive rules. Like they probably used that game as the example. Like this is why we have to allow more offensive linemen.
Was the Vic game the last win in Minnesota?
Oh, what was the Vic game?
When he had the 46-yarder in overtime.
Yeah, probably. Probably.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. For some reason, my mind, I just have so much trauma. For some reason, my mind went to Vic Beasley. What
Vic
great
Beasley,
game did Vic Beasley have against Minnesota?
That's not gonna happen. Yeah.
It was apparently 2011.
Oh, okay.
2011. Oh wow,
it's been a while.
More recent than I thought.
That'd be November 2011.
Okay. Interesting.
Who was their starting quarterback in that game? You know?
Oh, that was at the Falcons, though. You were saying at Minnesota. The last time at Minnesota, 2008.
Yeah. So
that was the Matt Ryan game against Tavares Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I remember Ryan, and you just know everything was breaking right your way. Ryan fumbled, and Justin Blaylock recovered that fumble in the end zone.
Yeah. That was a question on that Falcons trivia challenge. I remember. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the one you won. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, way to bring it up.
Humble brag.
Yeah. But to go back to this upcoming one that they have, it's going to be an interesting matchup because the Vikings are 1-4, but they still got a lot of talent, and it's a puzzling 1-4 because you don't look at that roster and say, yeah, they're one of the worst teams in the league, but record-wise they are. Not having Dalvin Cook is going to take something out of that offense, but just seeing how the Falcons, even though they've been average against the run this year, just seeing how they had trouble with Mike Davis this past week.
Yeah.
I'm not certain that they're going to be able to hold Madison under 100 yards, to be honest with you.
And they were a yard from beating the Seahawks. If you watch that game,
they brought him a 4th and goal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I honestly believe that Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen
they're
probably gonna have 100 yards apiece.
They're gonna have yards.
Yeah. You don't trust Isaiah Oliver to check Adam Thielen in this game?
Absolutely not, man.
Isaiah Oliver's about to get benched. Yeah,
look. He better because they still got to play the Chargers this year, and Mike Williams is going to embarrass him if he's healthy.
Hashtag free Bleedy Ray, okay? That's where I am.
Isaiah Oliver's going to stop running 10 yards down the field. He's just going to throw his hands
He's
up.
going to be like A.J. Green on that route this weekend.
It's still not going to be good enough. But this is going to be interesting because, like you said, Evan, it is Quinn's scheme, but these guys were calling the plays. But there were small little incorporations here and there of the Tampa 2, which Morris ran when he was in Tampa. So is it possible we may see more of a lean to that?
It's possible.
More Tampa 2 looks instead of the cover 3 Seattle looks?
Right.
Maybe.
I mean, maybe. Yeah. I mean, as long as Neal and Allen stay healthy and they can use those 2 safeties back there, then probably. I mean, if they have any more safety injuries, probably not, because you're going to have to play cover 1 by necessity. But
don't want Neal on that back end.
No, not really. But Jalen Hawkins was doing all right, if he can come back from that concussion, maybe.
I rather have Neal close to the line of scrimmage to cover Rudolph because Rudolph is a great red zone target, but outside of that, he doesn't really offer a whole lot.
That's true.
Yeah, they actually have Rudolph on a lot of blocking routes this season. For some reason, they're giving Irv Smith more actual routes than Rudolph.
I mean, Irv Smith's definitely more athletic. But I mean, I was on a Vikings pod today. I can't pronounce the name of it, but I'll tweet it out after the show. I apologize, but so basically their guards are the big problem. Their guards are maybe the worst in the NFL. So they were terrified of Grady Jarrett and what he could do. So that could be a way that the Falcons can get to Cousins because their guards are just among the NFL's worst. So Grady Jarrett's probably going to have a great day. But in terms of the matchups on the outside, I mean, Justin Jefferson's more in the slot, but Thielen on the outside, I mean, it's going to be a bad day for the Falcons' pass defense. But on the flip side, the Vikings are one of the NFL's worst defenses this year. They allow over 30 points per game, just like the Falcons. So it's probably going to be a shootout. Like, this is a defense that Dirk Koetter's offense can take advantage of because the Falcons are probably just more talented than them. But
how many times have you said that this year?
Well, they did. I mean, they did against Dallas and to an extent against Seattle, I guess. But, like, I mean, they should have done it against Green Bay. Green Bay's defense is not as good as people think, but yeah. I mean, no. Well, this is probably the third worst defense they've played because Dallas and Seattle are right up there with the Falcons in terms of worst in the league, and Minnesota's just slightly ahead. So it's going to be a shootout.
But like, you have to look at who Minnesota was playing too. They've played 4 or 5 really good offenses in the Colts.
Yeah. So the Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna. It's a really bad look giving up 28 to Phillip Rivers and those Colts because that offense is pretty garbage this
so
season.
Bad.
They're starting a pair of rookie corners, correct?
Yeah, Jeff Gladney and Cam Dantzler.
It would be a great game to have Julio.
Yeah,
He
could play.
Come back, because this is a secondary. Well, I take that back. The safeties, I love their safety play. Anthony Harris is a ball hawk. Harrison Smith is a physical presence. But when it comes to their corners and when it comes to, I mean, they run a lot of man-to-man. And I don't fear their corners against Julio and Ridley. So this would be a game for Matt Ryan in that passing game, in my opinion. I think the defensive line is probably the strength of that team. But yeah, I can't even put a finger on why they're so bad on defense this year. It's probably because of like I said, they have a pair of rookie corners.
I think also they're missing, isn't Anthony Barr on IR? And then
as is Danielle Hunter.
Yeah, Danielle Hunter's out.
Hendricks is playing lights out.
And Ngakoue, from what I saw, looked pretty good.
Yeah.
He's starting to come into form.
I mean, also like Minnesota, very unlucky this season.
Yeah.
Like Solaire said, they've played 3 undefeated teams so far this year, and they've lost 4 games by 1 score.
Yeah.
Well, technically the Vikings game by 9, or the Packers game they lost by 9, but that one was close until the very end.
In 1 yard, they beat the Seahawks.
Right. Yeah.
Like they went. I mean, they were so close, but
yeah, they lost. Or excuse me, they beat the Texans by 1 score. They lost 3 of those games. They lost to the Titans by 1.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't an easy game by any stretch.
Right. It's a 1-14, but this is a 1-14 that I guess you guys will agree with me. This is a 1-14 that they can turn it on at any moment.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think they are better than their record indicates.
Yeah, I don't know what their schedule is, but I wouldn't be like in this, the same boat as the Falcons and be season's over.
No.
The Falcons suck.
That 1 win helps them a lot statistically.
Yeah.
It really does. So
that's what I mean. If I was a fan of them, I wouldn't be like, well, season's over. Like, you still have a good team.
Yeah.
I don't know what their schedule looks like. But
yeah, I mean, they really need this game because they can go to Green Bay next.
Yeah, they absolutely have to get this one.
Yeah, and then but then after that, you get the Lions, the Bears, the Cowboys, Panthers, Jags. Like, they can go on a bit of a run.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So they have a chance. Yeah, we're very upbeat about our opponent this week, but not so much the Falcons, but the Vikings have some potential.
I'm sure Vikings fans watching this are like, yeah, they're making some good points out here.
Yeah, oh man, these guys. Is this the Vikings show? I'm going to turn my shirt inside out. Yeah.
That's to tell you how bad the Falcons are.
It really does. Yeah, that kind of sums up everything.
Vikings can go on a playoff run.
Yeah.
These guys have a chance, man. Yeah, but no, I mean, it's true. Like, I think this will be actually a decent game for the Falcons. Like, I think the offense is going to move the ball. I don't think it's going to be as torturous to watch as last week or the week before. So, hopefully that'll be better for us because the last 2 games were pretty excruciating watches. So as someone who has to watch, so I can talk to you guys and the fans after the game, I appreciate when the games aren't excruciating. So that will be good for me. But let's pivot to some other future Falcon stuff because I know the fans, we only want to mire ourselves in the darkness for so long. Let's go back into the light with the possibility for the Falcons today I was tweeting a lot about potential trade options. We know from Arthur Blank's comments that the team is not going to have a fire sale. They're not going to be trading away vets like crazy, but because they want the future staff to be able to make the decisions on guys like Matt Ryan and Julio and those other veterans. But players like Alex Mack, Todd Gurley, Keanu Neal, these are all guys in a contract year where the Falcons don't really have the flexibility to re-sign them next year because of the cap. So these are, Evan, I'll give you a chance here first. Do you think any of these veterans could be traded for the Falcons over the course of the season here?
Based on what I saw in that press conference and, grain of salt, I don't know how much they're actually going to follow through with, but it sounded like they weren't going to make any big deals unless it was something. They sounded very adamant on letting whoever the next GM and head coach is kind of make all these big decisions. But I think if they're going to do one, like Alex Mack probably makes the most sense. Just if they want to get, Hennessy at center just to, see what he can do there. But, outside of that, I don't know if anybody's sitting there thinking they're going to do like some big trades. They pretty much went out of their way to shoot that down.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't think they're going to be trading anyone that's necessarily under contract next year, except for guys that would be obvious cuts, like Ricardo Allen, Alan Bailey, James Carpenter, those types of guys. But like Alex Mack is an obvious one for the reasons you mentioned, Evan. Like we have Matt Hennessy in the building. He's probably the future at center. You might want to start giving him reps now. And Mack is still a very good veteran. He actually has value. And there's a lot of teams out there with offensive line injuries, contenders that Mack might be happy to go to for a year for the rest of the season. The other thing with Mack is you can actually save a fair amount of cap with the trade because most of his contract this year is base salary. So if you trade Mack in the next couple weeks, you could save over $5 million, and that could be key to rolling over and helping with some of that cap deficit next year. So I do think the Mack one is a pretty interesting one. Adnan, you got any thoughts on potential vets that could get traded this offseason? Or, well, during the season, I guess.
Low-key, pretty much anyone with an expiring contract.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if anyone would even want Tack, but, he's constantly hurt.
If he gets healthy here soon, maybe, and then plays well. But
if he gets healthy, for him to just get hurt again.
No one wanted Vic, so no one's probably going to want Tack.
The Titans wanted Vic. Enough to pay him like $12 million, apparently. But yes, I digress. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, he also speaking of Tack, he was making such a big deal about not getting that 5th-year option. He gets that sack to start the Seattle game. He's putting up the 5s. Sending a message, and then he doesn't play the entire season. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Definitely. The thing is, I think they'll be hesitant. Like you guys mentioned, I think Rich McKay doesn't want to really make any moves. It'll be similar to last year where they didn't make any moves except for the obvious one, where they got a second rounder for Sanu, a deal that they just couldn't refuse. But then someone like Devontae Freeman, where the Lions expressed interest, they wanted him. They were going to give you, I think, a 6th-round pick or something like that for him, and you just outright refused.
Yeah, they wanted to win games.
Different reason. Yeah, they wanted to win games. Great job. Look at where that got us.
That got us. Yeah, we were very critical of that last year, to be fair. But I agree with you there. There are some interesting names. Also, Tack is definitely one of them. Eric, did you have any guys that you were thinking of possibly?
No. Well, I guess you can. Yeah, Matt definitely. Gurley's probably out there if they get a decent draft pick.
Right, because if he's playing really well, I mean, if there's a running back injury for a contender, I mean, I wouldn't rule it out certainly.
Yeah, I wouldn't rule it out. I honestly believe this front office when they say that they don't want to pull the trigger on anything unless it's just too good to pass up. Because I honestly believe the front office believes, and I know we believe as well, that the nucleus of this team can still win games and win playoff games.
Yeah.
So to me, like I said, unless you get a trade that you just can't, if someone offers you 3 firsts for Julio,
I'll have that conversation.
Yeah, I'll have that conversation at least. Unless that happens, I don't think you will make a trade for any of the nucleus players, Matt Ryan, Julio,
Jake Matthews.
Anybody
else.
I one more name I will say I would absolutely trade Ricardo Allen if anyone has any interest in that, because that would save $2 million in a dead cap hit next season. I figure he'll be a cap casualty either way next year. Because he'll save $6 million if you cut him, but you'll still have $2 million on the books. And apparently he's like salty enough about Dan Quinn getting fired to where he's like making 28-3 jokes in the Super Bowl now.
Yeah.
So
I was not prepared for that in Ricardo Allen's press conference.
Taking him down in the parking lot so you can tell him goodbye.
Yeah,
stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it would be smart for them not to do it, because you never know. A veteran coach can come in and say, "Hey, I can win with these guys. I can get them to the playoffs next year. Give me 1 year with these guys, and we will be back." And I think Blank will be open to that. So unless they get a trade they can't turn down, I don't think it's wise for them to do though, because you don't know what the next regime is going to want to do with this nucleus.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think given Matt and Julio's contracts, they're here for another at least like couple of years. I think it would be smart to go in on like trying to make the playoffs next year, no matter who the next regime is, and then like after that couple of years, then you look toward the new era with like possibly a new quarterback if you pick high enough for it, and if you have the opportunity to pick someone who is worthy of being Matt Ryan's successor in the next year or two. And you just like you go all in, with what you have now, because I mean you're not going to move them anyway. And what's the point of trying to rebuild when you have an aging quarterback and an aging wide receiver?
I swear, if someone mentions to me again about trading Matt Ryan,
it can't happen this year. Maybe you can figure out a way to make it work next year.
Everybody who's on the show, I feel like we need to break this down, guys, because they're not listening for some reason.
We should have a special show just about this.
For everybody who's on the show, hear me carefully, okay? Matt Ryan carries a $49 million dead cap going into next offseason, which means if the team were to get rid of him, they would have to swallow that. They will have to pay him that.
Yes.
They trade him before the deadline. There's a possibility that they can split the dead cap for the future, but it will be 17 this year and it will be 44.5 million next year.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money to pay for a guy that's not on your team.
Yeah,
that's not feasible.
No, and like there maybe are ways to do it next year. I mean, generally the team trading the player takes the signing bonus dead cap. That is generally the way it is done. But you can negotiate as part of the trade for the team receiving the player to take on some of that bonus money as a part of the trade. It can happen, but it would reduce the draft compensation. So you probably want to balance that out. Like 2022 is probably the year that we're really considering trading Matt Ryan. But
I love Matt, but I don't see teams swallowing part of that bonus to get him. To trade for
I don't think they will. No. So
I don't see teams doing that. So basically you're stuck with Matt Ryan for 2 years.
Yeah, and this isn't Madden. Like you trade or you cut Matt Ryan, as some people want to do, you will literally lose $9 million in cap space. Like so, you will lose cap space.
The dead cap goes against the cap space. Like
like there's more dead cap than cap space than cap hit next season. There's $9 million more. And also it's like this is your franchise quarterback who's still doing a good job. Like even if he's struggled the last couple of games, you're not just gonna get rid of your quarterback, just because some people have some sort of like decade-long vendetta against him.
Someone mentioned it yesterday that if the dead cap was lowered to like 25 million, like they'll be willing to do. No, they're paying 25 million in dead cap money now, but they're paying it for 42 players.
Yeah.
You really think they're going to want to pay 26 million for one guy?
They won't. They won't. No, and they won't. And like that's the thing I think people don't understand is that when you cut or trade a player, the signing bonus accelerates to that year. Like because you can't spread it out over the course of the contract anymore because you cut him. So the contract all comes due. So it's not financially feasible for that to work. But it doesn't, like, we don't need to necessarily get rid of Matt Ryan to get a new head coach in here. That, like, if a new head coach, if the Falcons get a top 5 pick, they can take a quarterback with that pick, and they can keep Matt Ryan for 2021 and then move him in 2022 and have the best of both worlds, and it's fine.
Exactly what the Packers are doing right now.
Right, and honestly, like the presence of Matt Ryan is probably a boon, not a bad thing for this team and for attracting a head coach, because someone like Bieniemy might not want to do a full rebuild. He might like the idea of having Matt Ryan for a year or two and taking a chance on a more raw quarterback like a Justin Fields or a Trey Lance, because the Falcons more than likely aren't getting Trevor Lawrence. Let's just be honest.
And we mentioned it. Well, I just mentioned it with the Packers. They did it twice in their team history. They did it twice. They drafted a quarterback, had him sit for 2 or 3 years behind a veteran quarterback, and it's worked for him. So how come it can't work here in Atlanta? I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either. So that's basically where we're at with that. We're going to talk about that a ton over the remainder of the season, I'm sure. But I know we had a question from Mark Godby. I want to get to it before we do too much. Hey, Ben, how are you doing?
Hello. How you doing, guys?
Hey, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, we are just wrapping up our head coaching and general manager firing talk here, guys. That's Ben Baldwin joining us. But yeah, the rest of you guys, I know we had a question from the chat, Mark Godby, about whether we should go after the head coach or GM first. So Adnan, I'll give you the first crack at that one.
I think you go after the general manager first. It's sometimes a special circumstance, like the Kyle Shanahan stuff, where you hired Kyle Shanahan first with the 49ers, and then he'll help you through that process of getting a general manager. But not everyone is Kyle Shanahan. Like, Kyle Shanahan has been in meeting rooms since he was a child with his dad being Mike Shanahan. He's grown up around the game. He's been in all of those head coaching meetings, and he's just completely lived the game from childhood on, and he's been through those in the room through those executive decisions. Whereas getting a head coach that we hope someone like an Eric Bieniemy, I don't know if he'll have that same influence and that same impact in finding a general manager. I think you go get your executive, and then you speak with him. We're all hoping for Louis Riddick, I assume. And then after that, you go get your head coach. It's just, it's the traditional way to do it. It's the tried and true way to do it. Go get your GM, go get your head coach. But let's be honest, it's all it's a lot of semantics. Just go get your guys at head coach and general manager. Doesn't really even matter if it is head coach first, GM second, because I think Arthur Blank will hire his committees for each one individually. Mm-hmm. And of course, there's going to be opinions taken, but I don't think it's going to be a golden rule of, this guy wants, this GM wants this guy as a head coach, so we're just going to go 100% all in. There's going to be different committees about this.
Yeah, and I think it's fair either way. It probably depends on what you think is more important. If you think getting someone like a Louis Riddick is more important than securing the top head coach, you probably go for the GM first. If you think we want Eric Bieniemy no matter what, then you probably just say, I don't care about the GM. We're just going to get Bieniemy and let him pick his guy. And I think either way is fine, for being totally honest. So it just depends on what the team wants to do, and I won't be shocked either way, Mark. So, but yeah, I do want to welcome in Ben Baldwin. I like to refer to him as the King of the Nerds. I don't know if that's an official title or not, but Ben, how are you doing tonight?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Excellent. Well, we're just commiserating over the loss of Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff, which we're actually pretty happy about. Did you? Is that something that you've been waiting to see as well? I know you're a Seahawks guy, so.
Yeah, so it's not totally surprising, especially after how the Falcons started, and I caught some of the conversation beforehand, and like you were guys saying, the Falcons are they have the players that you think would allow them to compete with other teams in their division or their conference. They have the pieces to do all this, and yet year over year it seems like they underperform. So it's everyone says how great of a guy Dan Quinn is, and I'm sure that's all true, but if I were a Falcons fan, I would be so ready for a change at this point.
Yeah, we totally are. Also, excellent timing with Keenan Forney, former Falcons guard, joining us. Keenan, how are you doing tonight, man?
Good. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
How's everybody doing, man, with all the latest happenings?
Well, it is a relief. It is a relief for us, I think.
Yeah, as well as we can be doing with the Falcons at 0-5 and the Braves down 15-1, but
Yeah. Well, you take the good with the bad with this city, but yeah, I mean, I do agree with what Ben was saying about this team. I mean, I think the talent is clearly better than the numbers would suggest, particularly on the defensive side, but also on the offensive side. And I know Ben and I have been connecting a lot recently on Twitter over our dislike of Dirk Koetter's offensive scheme. I don't know Dirk Koetter personally, so I can't say anything personally against the man, but the runs on second and long, this has been something he's been doing since the early 2010s. The lack of pre-snap motion. There's so many things. It's like he was built in a lab to go against analytics. Do you think that's pretty much the case, Ben?
Yeah, that's certainly my impression. I think one of the things we've learned, and it's not like people didn't know this before, but just kind of has been brought into people's conscious more, is how much easier certain decisions by play callers can make life on their offense. And one of the things is throwing a lot and using play action passing a lot on early downs. And that's like the one thing, like if there's something like a corner three in football, the most efficient shot in basketball, that it's like running play action on first down, especially. And we saw like in 2016, the Falcons just killed people doing that. And obviously they don't have Shanahan anymore, but the way, like if you have someone like Matt Ryan, if you have someone like Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley, like those are the pieces to be a great offense. And you should be constructing your team in a way that is placing all those players in the best position to succeed. And calling runs on second and long is not doing that. Like you want to give Matt Ryan 2 shots to earn a first down on second and third down, rather than just 1 shot on third and long when the defense knows that a pass play is coming.
Yeah. No, and I'm in 100% agreement. And it's interesting because we saw this team basically embrace that style of football, the modern style. I mean, Shanahan utilizes the run game better than anyone else, so he almost is like the exception to the rule with some analytics, because he's able to squeeze so much value out of his running backs' touches. But like even then, I mean, the Falcons had Devontae Freeman, who was having an excellent season, and Matt Ryan didn't even throw the ball that much. It was just so efficient with his play action, and I think we're kind of seeing the same flavor of this, with the Titans in Tennessee. But it just boggles the mind, because the Falcons clearly built this offense to do what you're suggesting, which is to be a pass-first team. And then even when they are getting success with the run, it seems like Koetter is just as willing to abandon it and then go super pass-heavy. So I just don't really know what we're getting at this point. It's mind-boggling to me.
But we pointed out on the show before that even though the elements on offense, gives you the picture that this is a pass-first team, or that this should be a pass-heavy team, we can go back as far as 2016 or even before 2015 and see that, this team usually wins games when it's a lot more balance on offense and not Matt Ryan throwing the ball 40 times a game. And I think people see Matt Ryan and Julio and Ridley and say, all right, chuck it. But we all can bring up at least 5 games where it's like, okay, Matt hit 400 yards, but they lost by a touchdown, or they lost by 2 scores. Like, it's just, I honestly believe that at this point in Matt Ryan's career, throwing the ball 30, 35, 40 times a game is probably not going to win the game for him.
And just to piggyback off that, and just to get Keenan's insight on it, Keenan, as an offensive lineman, is it like much more difficult to do your job when the defense knows that it's going to be a run versus a pass? Like when the defense knows that they're going to pin their ears back, when the defense is going to pin their ears back and they know it's third and long on a pass, which is what these first and second down runs set up by that Dirk Koetter is calling. How much harder is that as an offensive lineman on the other side?
It's very hard, because now they getting their best pass rush moves available for you. As an offensive lineman, just personally, I would love to come off and run the ball and wear they behind out, to where now, later part in the game, they don't, we didn't take some out of them already. They don't got all that energy no more. Man, it's hard to it's hard to go out there when they know what you're going to do, which is pass, which is why I always used to hate, going into 2 minutes because they know what's going to happen. We're about to pass and maybe throwing a couple screens. So I always like being able to come off and get into somebody as opposed to waiting on them and see what they gonna do.
And that's exactly what we saw Sunday against Carolina. That run in that second half, they were getting 5-6 yards of carry, man.
Yeah.
And there was no reason why Gurley only had 14 carries.
I mean, it was bizarre because it just seemed like they decided pretty, arbitrarily that, okay, this is going to be a passing drive. We're going to throw 4 straight passes now. And then it was like, all right, this is going to be a run drive. We're going to run a bunch now. But that's kind of the Dirk Koetter roller coaster. But
it was the same against the Bears. Same against the Bears in that fourth quarter when we had that 11-second drive where we just went 3 and out when we were up by 2 possessions in that game.
Yeah. But like Ben, I know a lot of people mistake analytics for basically and think that, oh, well, there's never a good time to run, and there are advantageous times to run. But I mean, in your experience, what should the Falcons be more balanced? Should they be more pass heavy? Should they just be smarter with when they run versus pass? What is you're more experienced with analytics than me. I'm more of a neophyte in these matters, but
yeah. So I'm looking at kind of the historical background for the recent Falcons, and so when the game is close, which is like when teams really have the option to pass or run and on early downs. So in 2016, they were actually the 3rd pass happiest team in the league, which might sound kind of surprising, but I think a lot of that is they got up to leads early in the game and then were able to put teams away and run the ball later more often. Mm-hmm. And now they're down to the 5th run heaviest team in 2020. So they've really gone, and again, the part of this is the change in offensive coordinator, et cetera, does it overall success of the offense. But I think in the modern NFL, with how slanted the rules are towards passing, there's a lot of pass interference calls, there's a lot of defensive holding. They stopped calling offensive holding on pass plays for the most part. So like the NFL rules are, like, regardless of what you think about passing or running, the NFL rules are just so slanted to passing the ball that it's really hard to win games if you are running a lot on 1st and 2nd down and putting yourself in repeated 3rd down situations. And the Falcons have really, like, they're one of the run heaviest teams in the league now. And when you have, I know it hasn't been, the offense hasn't been as great as people might have hoped coming into the year, but it's not like it's been bad as a passing offense. And if you have those pieces, then you probably shouldn't be one of the run heaviest teams in the league.
And the funny thing about that is one of the best games that we've seen all season for them on offense was against Dallas, where they were not run heavy early on. Mm-hmm. They were really getting their weapons out in space, and they were attacking that Dallas defense through the air. And it's just the thing is when it came to Shanahan knew the weakness of the defense. Mm-hmm. He was going to attack the weakness of that defense for all 4 quarters. Koetter goes into the game, and I honestly think Koetter builds his game plan like literally after kickoff. it's okay, let's see how the first drive looks.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what we're going to go with for the rest of the game. And it's so predictable. I don't know how many times we've called here on this show. Remember in the Green Bay game in the group chat, guys, when we were had like 8 or 9 runs on 2nd down in the first half.
Yeah. I was telling people not to take shots when they saw a 2nd down run because they'd probably die. Yeah.
It's so predictable and it's frustrating.
Yeah. So I have a name that you guys from Georgia might recognize, which is Brian Schottenheimer. And when the first couple of years the Seahawks hired him, it felt exactly the same way. Like, it felt like there was no plan. They were running just for the sake of running, and that's what they were going to do. Somehow, over the past offseason, he completely transformed, and I have no idea why this happened, but like, the Seahawks are the pass heaviest team in the league and have an exciting offense, and like all this crazy stuff has happened. But like, watching that offense in 2018, 2019, that's exactly what you guys talking about this Falcons team reminds me of.
Yeah, now they're letting Russ cook. Like, he's out there.
Hashtag let Russ cook.
There's a number of elements that go into that. I mean, you got Chris Carson is a really solid running back, but he has fumbling issues. Rashad Penny's never healthy. So it's kind of sort of like you have to lean on Russ, but good for them that they have an elite franchise quarterback that's worthy to lean on. But
And he's probably the MVP front runner as a result.
Absolutely. Yeah, Josh Allen crapped the bed, so it's definitely Russ or bust right now. But
I will also say I was looking for Keenan's reaction as Ben was saying how they're not calling holding on offensive line anymore. Like, I'm pretty sure he's like, oh, they shouldn't have been calling it before either. Like, I'm sure no O lineman ever thinks that they ever hold.
Hey, O linemen do not hold.
Yeah, that's a myth. Okay,
their jerseys fell into their hands. That's all it is.
No, but honestly, one of the most interesting things this season so far is that Brian Schottenheimer and Pete Carroll, two coaches not necessarily known for their analytics-friendly approaches, have seemed to have undergone some sort of transformation. Maybe there was some sort of body double Weekend at Bernie's situation. I don't really know. I don't want to speculate, but I mean, Schottenheimer is calling an amazing scheme now. It's pass-heavy. It seems like it's very modern. So, I mean, yeah, I guess you guys really don't know what happened. I mean, maybe they changed the water or something.
I got a question for Ben real quick. So, and it's kind of like off the Falcons real quick, but you're a real analytic guy. So, what is one analytic stat that you've seen so far this season that's really surprised you the most and is really telling when you actually watch the game?
I think. And now we're getting really off the Seahawks and the Falcons. I think the one perhaps most surprising development of this season has been Josh Allen suddenly getting more accurate as a passer. And we obviously if you watched Josh Allen play, perhaps last night aside, you can see that setting that aside, you can see that he has become much more accurate. And I think that's interesting for a couple of reasons. So first, we actually have statistics that can sort of measure this. So we Next Gen Stats has this statistic called completion percentage over expected. And what this does is it looks at where a quarterback is throwing the ball, how far away the closest defender is to the receiver, stuff like that. And what it has told us is that Josh Allen has gotten more accurate as a passer. And yes, you can say, well, we don't need a stat to tell us this. We can just watch our eyes or use our eyes to watch the games. And that's true. But at the same time, it's nice to be able to have kind of this way of quantifying how good quarterbacks are at completing passes, because nobody has time to sit down and watch every game from every weekend. And I think going back to Josh Allen, I think the interesting question that this raises is, how do quarterbacks get more accurate? Can this be something that can be coached or predicted ahead of time? Because it's really not something that most people saw coming.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, yeah. Go ahead, Eric.
What's interesting about that is their offense is not a dink and dunk thing. So you can use last night's game as an example. There were a lot of intermediate throws, and he was on target. And there's some deep shots that they take too because of guys like Diggs and John Brown that's able to get behind the defense with ease. So I mean, just from the casual fan, you can see that Josh Allen is improving. But when you add in the fact that he got a new receiver in Diggs, the offense might have changed a little bit when it came to being when the passing element from Brian Daboll probably changed a little bit for Josh Allen. You'll notice hey, this guy looks like a completely different quarterback from last year. It's not the fact that he's just being more accurate. He's a lot more confident as a quarterback too, man.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's a big trickle down effect to the rest of the team when a quarterback is that confident. Keenan, I'm sure you can speak on it, and it doesn't even have to be in the NFL, throughout your entire days, high school, college, whatever, where I'm sure there is a noticeable difference between when you have a guy who's super accurate as a passer and who's just going to be slinging it super accurately downfield versus someone who, you're out there doing your job and you're like, oh, I hope he doesn't just overshoot this wide open wide receiver out here.
You know how many times Keenan walked on the field knowing he getting ready to block for Michael Vick, it's going to be an easy day right here.
Well,
you got back there, man. There's no pressure at all.
Oh man, I was getting ready for them ESPN highlights, but we have had some quarterbacks where I was like, man, this cat can't hit the side of a barn. He looked like Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite.
Hitting him with the stake right in the face. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Man.
Yeah.
But man, it just when you got your guy back there, man, it just gives you that added confidence, and it makes it gives you that added confidence to that we're gonna make it work out here today, man. It makes you block harder too, because you want to give him a chance to make plays back there for you.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean that's definitely, like, I agree with Ben 100%. Like, Josh Allen suddenly being good was the most surprising thing that's happened. So, I mean, maybe the Seahawks suddenly becoming the #1 pass heaviest offense. Maybe that was a little bit more surprising. But
surprising to me.
yeah.
Nope.
I mean, yeah. Josh Allen, though, like, I did not like Josh Allen coming out. I was very against the pick. I don't consider myself like an expert quarterback evaluator or anything, but I think just about anyone could watch Josh Allen's film and be like, this is the guy you taking in the first round? Are you sure about that? But I mean, they've defied all odds and turned him into what looks to be a good quarterback. And I don't know how you go from being arguably the worst deep passer in the NFL to like one of the best in one offseason. But I mean, maybe it is a confidence thing because his mechanics can't have gotten that better. I mean, I don't know, but it's crazy. It's crazy.
And he's going to help get his offensive coordinator or head coaching job as a result.
Yeah, possibly with the Falcons, but we'll see. That is one of the candidates to look at. But
so, are you guys hoping for offensive-minded head coach? Is that after the Dan Quinn experience?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dan Quinn and Mike Smith. It's been 12 years of defense.
We're gonna tailor that a little bit, okay? Yes, we want an offensive-minded guy, but we don't want an offensive-minded guy that's already been a head coach and has failed. I.e. Jason Garrett. Like, no, you're not. He's not welcome.
What, you don't want Bill O'Brien?
Oh, hell no.
Don't you put that evil on me. Don't you put that evil on me.
Yeah, well, we can make him the GM, too.
Trade Julio for a 6th-round pick.
Yeah. Trade Julio for Adrian Peterson in a 5th. Yeah.
I will put this damn show right here if they hire Bill O'Brien.
Yeah, it's going to be dead air. Yeah.
But guys, if we get Bill O'Brien, it's like a 2-for-1. You can make him the GM and the head coach.
You only have to pay one salary. It's Galaxy Brain. Yeah. No, but I mean,
to answer your question, yeah, Ben,
we'll get it right the second time around.
Yeah.
So Ben, do you feel that an offensive-minded coach for the Falcons would be the better direction to go for them?
Yeah, I think not even just for the Falcons. Like, if I were running a team, I would definitely hire on the offensive side of the ball, and I think the reason for that is, like, we know how important the head coach quarterback relationship can be. So, like, if you have a good offensive mind and he's your head coach, then he can probably get the most out of your quarterback. So we've seen that with, like, for example, Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay, and probably others I'm forgetting as well. And Matt Ryan is, like, I think he's a very good quarterback and has some years left in the tank, but at some point you're going to need to acquire and develop a new quarterback, and like the long-term fortunes of the franchise are going to be tied to how he does. And you want a coach who can place him in the best position to succeed as possible.
Yeah. And analytics also tells us that, offense is a lot less volatile year to year than defense, right?
Yeah, that's right. So if you have a good offense, it is more likely to continue being good in the future than a good defense. And the other thing is, like, we've seen a lot of cases where you hire a defensive head coach and the defense isn't any good. And we've seen that.
You're talking about Atlanta?
With the Falcons.
We've had this conversation plenty of times before. And is there really a such thing as hiring an offensive or defensive head coach in the league? Like, is there more of a higher success rate? Because me personally, I don't think there is. But there are some people that feel like, okay, the league is predicated on the passing game. It's predicated on offense. It's all about scoring points. So it's probably best to get an offensive-minded head coach. But then I turn around and I look at guys like Bill Belichick and Mike Tomlin. Like, those guys have been succeeding for so long, and they never coached offense a day in their life. So is there really a system for that?
Pete Carroll too. He came up on the defensive side. John Harbaugh was a special teams coach. So yeah, there's a lot of very successful coaches who have been very successful for a long time and didn't come up on the offensive side. I don't know if anybody has actually looked at, like, the relationship between where a coach came from and how successful they actually are. And I think the problem you would run into are that the sample sizes are so small, and it's like team success, especially in the short run, is so driven by the quarterback that you have. So there's a lot of mitigating circumstances. So I guess I'm basically saying without evidence that I would lean towards the offensive side of the ball. But yeah, it's definitely a hard question to actually, like, come down with a rigorous answer on.
Yeah,
That's a debate, honestly.
it is. I mean, I think it probably, but I think more than anything, it probably depends on the individual. Like, I think you're more likely to have success with an offensive head coach, particularly with a team like Atlanta that, look, like we've been trying to make the defense a thing for 12 years. The defense is never going to be a thing. It's never going to happen. Like, maybe it'll be average. Maybe it'll be top 10 occasionally. It's going to be an offensive show. So, like, just stop lying to yourself.
I wouldn't get getting an offensive guy because the strength of the team is the offense. But I'm not opposed to getting the right defensive guy in to be able to fix the weakness of the team. Like, I just
Right.
I don't. I'm
Yeah.
one of those. I'm on both sides.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe you got to have an offensive mind in an offensive game that we see every Sunday on the.
I mean, I'm looking at it like with Matt Ryan, we've seen him go through offensive coordinators like candy. Like everyone like comes in, shifts through, and Matt Ryan has had to go through what 5 offensive coordinators in his career.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at possibly like if you get the next big young quarterback, you know, after Matt Ryan and looking toward the future, you don't want to be shifting him through like different offensive coordinators. And if that OC is really good, then he's going to go get a head coaching job like we saw with Kyle Shanahan. And, you know, I'm sure Ben can speak on it too a lot better than I can, where quarterbacks and offenses have a lot more success in year 2, year 3 of that same scheme, as opposed to, you know, just shifting through like different OCs, different play callers, you have to go in, get a different feel over and over again. We're seeing it with Brian Daboll and Josh Allen right now, to go back to that point.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of kind of anecdotal evidence in favor of that. There's also like Aaron Rodgers in year 2 with Matt LaFleur has kind of exploded. Same with Matt Ryan with Kyle Shanahan in year 2. So I think there's definitely possibly something to that, where like the quarterback really knows the system and is playing in rhythm without having to think about everything, and that's kind of when it all comes together. And I think it's a great point about the risk you take when you hire on the defensive side. If you have somebody who succeeds as an offensive coordinator, then he's just going to get poached away by somebody else and hired. Where if you're hiring someone an offensive mind who's a head coach and does really well, then you're not going to have that problem. So, like for example, let's say I forgot where I was going there, so I'm trailing off.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Yeah. I mean, no, but you're absolutely right. Like the Kyle Shanahan thing with the defensive head.
Oh yeah, Shanahan. Yeah, there we go. Falcons. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like Shanahan. We saw it with Sean McVay in Los Angeles as well. Like, you know, all these great young and it's no surprise that teams are gravitating more toward the offensive young minds, especially when they have young quarterbacks.
Yeah. And it's basically like, to me, all the signs are pointing to offense. Like we just talked about it. Offense is much more stable year to year. The offense tends to improve in the second and third years, unless Dirk Koetter's your offensive coordinator. So I think that is, I think the analytics agree with me there that actually Dirk Koetter's offenses don't tend to improve in subsequent years. But I don't know. Maybe to ensure the tank, Eric. That's the only thing I can think of. But
so, how would you guys have you guys thought about Eric Bieniemy?
Yes.
How would you guys feel about that? Okay.
I'd be big into it. Yeah.
You can see the smile on Eric's face right now.
I actually wrote a column that came out today on Eric Bieniemy and highlighting what he can bring to the Falcons offense and how he would fit. Now, he's not going to be able to bring the Chiefs scheme entirely over because of what the Falcons have in terms of personnel. There's going to have to be some modifications in terms of that scheme overall. But I think his fit will go well with this team. And to me, it would be more of an easier situation for a rookie head coach because he's joining a team that has a veteran quarterback, has a veteran leading number 1 receiver in Julio Jones, has a nice number 2 in Calvin Ridley. You know, he's got a nice offensive line that's had some games and some seasons to gel. So for a rookie head coach, he's stepping into a situation and saying, hey, I can win a little faster now with this team than if I were to start off with, drafting my franchise quarterback and then drafting my franchise left tackle and then drafting my franchise receiver. So right. I think it's a decent consideration for him.
Yeah, buddy, because they're not gonna keep you. They're not gonna sit up and wait for no 4-5 year Jimmy Johnson, Dallas Cowboys of the '90s type of project.
Right.
They want to see some results in their first and their second year, man.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah, and that's
go ahead.
especially.
I was going to say, especially after 3 years of playing below 500 ball, like Arthur Blank, like he made the comment of we're not doing enough winning, and and yeah, like you can speak on it too, Ken. And I'm sure like the players, like there's a different feeling in that locker room knowing you're going into a season expecting to win, expecting like we're going to be in the playoffs this year, as opposed to we're hoping, but it's maybe going to be a rebuilding year, because I'm sure the players deep down inside know if it's going to be a rebuilding year, like if it's not going to be a good year or not.
Everybody comes into the year with the highest of hopes, and then after a few games, you start looking at that tape and you start seeing what you got or what you playing next to, and then that's when reality starts to hit in for you. Like, oh, okay, I see the way this thing gonna go.
All 32 think that they're Super Bowl contenders in week 1.
Oh,
Yeah,
man,
undefeated.
Yeah, everybody think they going to the show.
Yeah. I mean,
after a while, you start seeing how that quarterback start really playing, or how that O-line looks, or whatever it is, and you're just like, oh man, this ain't gonna be fixed this year.
Yeah.
So tossing the question to Ben real quick: does analytics show you a particular candidate that may fit the Falcons?
So I wouldn't say analytics, but I was sort of fed up with Pete Carroll at the end of last year with how the last couple Seahawks seasons ended, and I was like, I think I'm ready to see like Russell Wilson pass the ball and be in a real offense and everything. So I'm ready to see a new Seahawks head coach, and everyone's response to that was like, "You're crazy. Pete Carroll's won all these games, blah blah blah. Who would you even replace him with?" So then I started looking at like candidates who I think would be like great head coaching candidates, and Eric Bieniemy was like, if I could pick a new coach of the Seahawks, then Eric Bieniemy would be the person I would choose, because he's seen a lot of success with the Chiefs. Obviously, some of that's personnel driven. He's a good offensive mind. Everybody who's ever talked about him says good things, and Andy Reid's coaching tree has actually been pretty successful. So like pretty much every box is checked, and I think it's kind of crazy that he doesn't have a head coaching job yet. But like if I were a Falcons fan, then I would be like he would be like my number one person that I would love if he was hired, or whatever team he hopefully ends up getting hired at.
There's a list of guys that we think can fit in Atlanta, but he's definitely one of them. And for the ones that believe he doesn't call plays, he calls plays.
Not true.
Yeah,
it's not true. I don't know where that rumor started, but like
he called plays in the postseason.
He
you
did.
Really think Andy Reid is going to allow him to call plays in the postseason if he doesn't know what he's doing? Like he's.
Yeah, I mean it's like Bieniemy is my favorite guy. We've also talked about Arthur Smith, Brian Daboll's a name that's been brought up. Those guys. I guess we got sent some odds on the Falcons' top head coaching hires, and Lincoln Riley was the top choice, which I found strange.
Let me stop you right there, I don't think Mr. Blank is gonna mess with another college.
No, I don't think so either. I agree, Keenan. Yeah. Bobby Petrino. Okay, that's enough said.
I'm just saying. I could be wrong.
I don't think you're wrong. I think you're right.
If he wants Lincoln Riley in a Mercedes-Benz Stadium, I'm there. I'm with it.
Yeah, but like I guess go ahead.
He'll have to pay Lincoln Riley enough to buy like 100 Mercedes-Benz cars to bring him over from Oklahoma.
Do that.
Yeah, but Ben, I did want to ask, like, there's been a lot of debate recently about, which team is the top vacancy and all this, and obviously we think the Falcons is the best vacancy for one reason or another. What is your thought on that? I mean, right now the two vacancies are obviously Houston and Atlanta. We assume the Jets will part with Adam Gase, but, who knows? Who knows with them? But what's your take on that situation right now? Where would you go if you were the top head coach?
Yeah, it's kind of tough because each one has a drawback. So with the Falcons, Matt Ryan is like, I think he's a very good quarterback and still has something left. But like, if you're thinking about you want to go to a place and be there long term, like there's definitely a question mark of what's going to happen once Matt Ryan is gone, and that's not something there that is there in Houston, for example. Because if you're going to Houston, you would say Deshaun Watson's going to be my guy for the next 10 years, and I know he's a great NFL quarterback. The drawback with Houston is that they already traded away all their draft picks, so their cupboard is kind of bare. So if I had to choose,
or any other vacancy that you may see what happened, is it even because I'm pretty sure there's going to be a couple more teams that's going to
there always are
or any vacancy, it doesn't matter.
Of all the bad teams, like a lot of them are bad because their quarterbacks are bad, and that's just like not a situation I want to step into.
Poor
Like
Sam
even
Darnold.
if it was, I know the Bears are 4-1, right? But like even if their coach somehow got fired, like you don't want to come in and have your options be Mitch Trubisky or Nick Foles, something like that. So it's I think Atlanta and Houston would both be attractive options, and it would just kind of depend on like whether the coach thinks that he could be granted the security to oversee the transition from Matt Ryan to whatever's next without feeling like he had to win immediately once Matt Ryan was somewhere else.
I've said that Atlanta provides the best opportunity to win quickly or now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I think that's something that the Falcons brass kind of made clear with their press conference. Like Arthur Blank was pretty non-committal towards Matt Ryan's future for the first time ever. And like, I don't think he's going anywhere next year, but I do think it's important to offer that top candidate the flexibility to draft someone at the top, assuming you keep this top 5 pick, and, give them the flexibility to move on for Ryan or try to trade him. I mean, the best case scenario for the Falcons is that Ryan balls out over the course of this year, balls out next year, and then you transition to, Justin Fields or Trey Lance in 2022, and you are able to flip Matt Ryan for a premium pick. That would be, the best. Maybe Kyle Shanahan decides actually Jimmy Garoppolo does suck, so I need Matt Ryan.
It's going to take you 2 years to decide that?
I don't think so. That's what we were saying earlier in the show. Like, if someone's going to make some kind of crazy package deal for Ryan this year or next year, it's going to be Kyle Shanahan, because he and Ryan were, a match made in heaven. But
I probably need 2 first.
I mean, I don't think you're getting not with that contract. You're not getting 2 first.
I don't think you're getting that in a couple of years.
Well, I'm saying if you're going to tell me as a team that to eat $50 million in dead cap,
well,
I want to.
Yes, I mean, if the Falcons are eating the money, then yes, you can ask for more. But I suspect that it's going to be half and half.
Oh, no. I'm assuming at it like in 2022 that we're trading Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
and I don't think you're getting 2 first at that point. I think
maybe 1. I mean, if Matt Ryan's playing really well, maybe 1.
The dead cap lowers to like 8 or 9 million. So it's
the dead cap goes way down over the next.
Oh yeah. 2022 you can do it for sure, but I mean it's always dicey. And then there's obviously the question about Julio. This year has been disappointing. He's been hurt obviously with the hamstring, but there's a lot of questions for this Falcons team. Keenan, I did want to get your take. Obviously you didn't check. You weren't able to. You haven't been here for the previous shows this week, so I did want to get your thoughts. The Falcons parted ways with Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff, and just how are you on that decision? I know you've been through coaching changes, so what are your feelings on sort of that change for the Falcons?
You hate to see him go because, let's be honest, Dimitroff has drafted us some really great players and put together some really good teams for us. I hate that it ended that way for him. And DQ, such a nice guy, but let's be honest, man, this is a bottom line, performance-driven business. It's what have you done for me lately as far as football goes? And, what I know of Mr. Blank is he wants to put a really good product out for the fans of Atlanta, and he's going to do whatever it takes. So, I mean, sad to see him go, but, I was surprised, honestly, that he did it this early, but I think, just some of the outside voices might have, it might have influenced that decision a little bit to speed it up.
Right. I mean, 0-5, obviously, even getting 1 win probably would have saved Quinn through the bye, but 0-5, man, it's tough when you're going back to the 90s, for the last time that happened. And,
right.
It's tough. And it is sad because I think personally we were all fans of Dan Quinn and we wanted the best for him. Obviously, we always want the best for the team and everyone on it. But it was time. And, I feel like they honestly did Quinn a disservice by not moving on last year, because Quinn could have had the opportunity to leave with 6-2 as his final stretch, and, it was unacceptable because it was 2 missed playoff berths in a row, and that has generally been Arthur Blank's rule. Arthur Blank decided to break that rule and bring back Quinn again, and then now Quinn has to go out on 0-5 as, you know, kind of a disgrace. And I just feel like that kind of messed with both the Falcons and Quinn. I think it was a disservice to everyone, and it's unfortunate that it happened that way. But you know, we don't always make the right decisions.
It's unfortunate, but don't feel too bad for him. I mean, you know, he's still gonna get his check.
Oh yeah,
he ain't gotta go to work. I mean, unless they told him, hey, you still got to come up here and do something.
Right.
But you know, he ain't gonna have the whole press. He gonna take the next year probably off, or you know, he ain't gonna collect the rest of that money. So you know. Yeah.
At least he addressed the team on his way out.
Yeah.
Shout out to Petrino.
Shout out to Dan Quinn for addressing the squad on the way out. Good job.
As a man and not just a note in the locker.
Yeah.
Yes,
He wrote an entire
y'all trying to get me fired up tonight. Good mood. I went to church on Sunday, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm having a good week.
Yep. Yeah. But before we get out of here, I just want to remind folks, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you. I appreciate all of our guests and co-hosts, Adnan, for tuning in tonight. If y'all don't mind throwing a like at the video, that helps other folks on YouTube find the video. That helps a lot. And if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button and you'll get notifications when we go live. I did have one final thing for Ben, and you know, we've dunked a lot on Dirk Koetter. Is there anything that you think that he could change easily to fix things this year? I mean, I know, like, to me, just not running on second and 10 seems really easy, but we know that he's also really bad at doing things like pre-snap motion and all that. Like, what would you say would be the easiest and most simple thing that Koetter could do to kind of get this offense going?
Quit. You can quit.
Not including that, yeah.
So my short answer is that I think, like, in terms of simplicity, just stop running so much on second and 10. Like, it's not hard to do. Like,
you don't have to change the playbook, you know.
Yeah, presumably you have pass plays drawn up, so you can just call those instead of the run plays. And
right.
Like, it wouldn't take a major shift in philosophy or something. Like, you can still run the ball on first down or half the time or whatever if you want to, but if it doesn't work out on first down and you're staring at a second and long, then like, don't put yourself in a bad position on third and long. But do you guys even want them to be winning games the rest of the year?
Just the Saints games.
No.
Other than that, I'm
the
good.
Saints
Yeah,
game.
just the Saints games.
Tank. I don't like tanking. I hate.
You don't officially tank.
I hate telling a professional player to go out there and lose on purpose.
Yeah, they won't. I mean, they won't. No one does that in the NFL. But, like, yeah, I mean, honestly, do we want them winning games? Not really. I mean, I think they're going to win 4-5. But, yeah, I mean, I just don't understand. Like, and I think we're basically on the same page with Koetter in that he just seems to do the opposite of what you should do. Like, he's very aggressive on first down, or at least he has been this year. And then he turns into a turtle on second down. Like, he throws short of the sticks. When he does pass, their yards per attempt on second down is just god-awful. It's like 5 yards or something terrible compared to, like, over 10 on first. And then he just runs a ton. So it's like...
Or he gives Gurley 3 carries on the first drive, and then by halftime he has 4 carries overall. Yeah. Like, how the hell does that happen?
I don't know. But, like... If you're going to be aggressive on first down, you should be aggressive on second down too, right, Ben? Because you're going to be in second and long more often than not.
Yep. Yep, that's right.
Yeah, okay. Well, there we go. I'm on the right page there. But, yeah, I mean...
when it plays my ass. Yeah,
right, yeah. I mean, there's too many issues with the offense to break down tonight, but go ahead on that.
I was going to say, like, we don't have to ask the player. Like, nobody is going to ask the players to tank, but you can just go out there and do exactly what you've been doing the first 5 games, and you won't have to worry about that.
Just keep on keeping on, guys. Keep on keeping on. Man, yeah. Well, let me say, this has been a great show. The guests and co-host Adnan. It's going to be a bit now, yeah. But it's been a great show. Obviously, Keenan, we love your insight from a player's perspective. Ben, this was a lot of fun. I really appreciate the analytics angle and to just get some of the numbers behind everything. Because these are the things that we've kind of felt, but it's nice to see them backed up by the data as well. So I'm going to give my guests a chance for some closing statements. And also a chance to plug their stuff. We'll start with Ben Baldwin. He is at Ben B. Baldwin on Twitter. Ben, anything else you want to say? Anything you want to plug?
You can find my writing on The Athletic Seattle, and that's it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, yeah, it's a lot of fun. Also with us, Keenan Forney. former Falcons guard. He is on Twitter at K4065 and on Instagram at F65Performance. Keenan, anything else you want to add tonight? Anything else you want to plug?
I just want to say that I think that at this point, Bieniemy would be a good selection for us because I don't know, you guys might have brought this up earlier, but he's a former player, so I think he would be he would really know how to relate to those players, and also from a coaching perspective, he'll know when to push them and he'll know when to pull back. So the guys will be ready, be fresh, be ready to go, and also too. Get out. I know I say this every week. Get out and watch some high school college football. This Friday, I'm going to go watch Mountain View versus Brookwood. I used to coach at Brookwood, and my boys over at Mountain View. I'm going to go check out those two. Brookwood is undefeated right now. They're looking pretty good. And this weekend, I'm going to watch some Georgia football. Everybody, man, support football while it's still here, baby.
Yep. Mask up, social distance, but support football where you can, guys.
Yes, sir.
Those guys, are looking for your support as well. Also with us tonight, Eric Robinson. He is on Twitter at @Eric_Robinson. Eric, anything else you want to add tonight?
Yeah, I had a column come up this morning where I highlighted, a head coaching candidate for the Falcons. I highlighted Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator of the Chiefs. He's not going to be the only one. This is pretty much going to be like a series of columns that I'm going to put out that it's going to pretty much touch on possible head coaching candidates going forward. But he was the first one. So give that a look. Give the Falcoholic site a look as well, man. Just go in and we pretty much have everything covered when it comes to Falcons from top to bottom.
Yeah.
So go in there and any head coaching questions or any Matt Ryan trade questions and stuff like that, you can direct it on Twitter at Words and Beer.
At the Falcoholic. Dave Cho will be happy to answer those.
Yeah. At Words and Beer, at the Falcoholic.
Hit those guys up. Yeah.
You'll get answers.
Yeah. Also with us tonight, Adnan Ikic at Say Which Way.
Our show is going to lose so much funding.
Yeah. Well, it gets zero funding already, so there we go. Yeah, you can't hurt us anymore, Dave.
You can find me on Twitter at Say Which Way. I have a weekly column going looking at what if the Falcons win and what if the Falcons lose this upcoming game, looking at those scenarios, which is about to turn into a de facto article looking at draft standings like it was last year. So check that out. And I also will have a column which is really going to look at some positivity with this team moving forward in the big picture and in the long-term future. And, I've learned my lesson the last few weeks. I am not going to be picking the Falcons to win this week because I've been burned by going down that bridge too many times before.
Yeah, and now we have to have our picks compared to like every other writer in the world on Tally Site. So I have to actually care about my picks. So yeah, I'm going to stop picking again. Going to stop picking the Falcons, that's for sure. But yeah, guys, I am Kevin Knight, at Falcoholic Kevin on Twitter. You can check out my stuff. I had a column yesterday about Dirk Koetter and his failure to properly utilize the run and the pass game. And I'm going to have a stats preview tomorrow on Thursday and more stuff this weekend, so check that out. But yeah, as these guys said, check out the site falcoholic.com for all your Falcons news needs and analysis needs and all that good stuff. I don't know how you got here without knowing about the falcoholic.com, but on the off chance you just happened to cross, that is where you should go. But yeah, otherwise, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight on a Wednesday. This is possibly by far our best Wednesday night show in terms of concurrence. We had over 150 folks on tonight watching. We appreciate you guys, all the regulars, all the new folks. Like I said, if you don't mind throwing a like at the video, that helps other people find us, and then subscribe if you want to get those notifications when we're going live. We also have the Sunday post-game shows. Those are a lot of fun, so check that out as well if you're interested in getting some instant reactions and watching me be sad on Sundays, which is what has been happening a lot this year, but you guys seem to like that, so whatever. But for all of the guests, for Eric and Adnan and Keenan, and also for our special guest tonight, Ben Baldwin, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you on Sunday. And